Let's bring in Chuck Marino, former Homeland Security advisor. The governor in Illinois says, these peaceful protests are taking place there in Broadview and that the president should butt out with his plans for National Guard troops. What do you say, Chuck?
Well, they absolutely have not been managing the situation responsibly. They continue with their rhetoric, which is gravely increasing the risk against ICE agents and other federal agents, as well as those locations. Look, they're allowed to protest out there based on the city ordinance from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That is a long period of time for a lot to go wrong. And ICE has shown and fell victim to the fact that they cannot rely consistently on state and local authorities to keep those facilities or their men and women out in the field safe.
Well, again, the governor, J.B. Pritzker, says that this is all about militarizing blue cities. Listen.
They're claiming in court that this is about protecting ICE facilities and ICE agents and not about crime on the streets. They just want troops on the ground because they want to militarize, especially blue cities in blue states.
Your thoughts on that? I mean, what does it gain the president to militarize a bunch of Democrat-leaning cities?
Well, the appeals court here did put a stop to the National Guard troops going to Chicago, but what they also did was issue a stay regarding the president's authority to federalize the National Guard. Now, long term, both can't be true at the same time. I believe the president does have a right to federalize the National Guard, and that the courts cannot ignore the crime metrics and the illegal immigration metrics on the ground in sanctuary cities. We've got to remember these sanctuary cities prioritize and shield the most dangerous criminals, whether in the country legally or illegally, from being held accountable by the law.
It's interesting that there's a former Illinois governor, Rod Blagojevich, who says President Trump is trying to do what he promised to do. Listen.
It's a very clear issue. President Trump was elected on this issue. He was promised to secure our borders and fix the illegal migrant crisis. What the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago ought to do is work with the president to do that, to protect American citizens.
They don't seem to want to work with the president, though. Why is that?
Well, it's just an outright hatred, and that prevents them from ignoring what the right thing is in this situation. Let's say the National Guard does get denied from going to Chicago. Does that mean all of a sudden J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson are going to allow state and local law enforcement to work with ICE? Of course it doesn't. Is it going to allow them to hold the most dangerous accountable? Of course they won't. So the sanctuary city policies will continue on and nothing will change. So in terms of presenting this as a win by J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, it's actually a loss. Their polls are suffering. Brandon Johnson is down in single digits. And the law-abiding citizens of the state of Illinois are on the losing end of this, and they're starting to realize that.
You were with the Secret Service, all about protection. I mean, imagine for a moment that these kinds of protests were taking place outside Governor Pritzker's mansion. Do you think he might have a different feeling?
Yeah, exactly. He would. The fact that these protests are occurring in such close proximity, there's no screening going on of any of the people in the crowd. This is a very volatile situation here for the men and women of ICE. And it's totally avoidable if the local government would do the right thing. I think if law enforcement officers were questioned on this discreetly, they would say that they want the support from the National Guard in Chicago, that they want to work more closely with federal agencies. But those requests, those efforts have been denied over the years repeatedly by the governor and by the mayor. They just do not want to do the right thing here. Again, back to my primary point, because of a hatred of the president. Yeah. And here you have the president, I think, is going to be proven right by the courts here that he is allowed to go in and clean up this mess that they have created.
Just looking at the battling going on with local law enforcement there, I'm sure they'd welcome all the support they could get. Chuck Marino, we have to say goodbye. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.